Trento is a battle rating 4.7 Tier 4 Italian heavy cruiser. It's Italy's first heavy cruiser, and while it used to be quite poor, it received significant drops to its battle rating since its introduction. So, is the 4.7 battle rating low enough to save it, or has it still got some issues? First, a bit of history on the Trento class. The two ships of the class, Trento and Trieste, were both laid down in 1925 and completed by 1929 and 1928 respectively. The two were Italy's first treaty-era heavy cruisers and exceeded the weight limits of the Washington Naval Treaty. Trento was sunk in 1942 by British Beaufighters and the submarine HMS Umbra, while Trieste was sunk in 1943 by American B-24s. Trento's primary armament consists of 8 203mm cannons split into 4 turrets, with 2 fore and 2 aft in super-firing pairs. They have a fire rate of roughly 3.4 shells per minute per gun, with a combined fire rate of 27 shells per minute on a single target and a broadside. Their dispersion is some of the worst in the game, only being beaten by the Krasny Kavkaz as far as cruisers go, giving them an incredibly low relative hit rate. Trento's cannons get access to 3 shell types: HE, AP-HEBC, and HETF. The HE shell has excellent filler, making it incredibly good against destroyers since it can normally take out one or more sections with even a poor hit. It's also good against cruisers, though due to how their damage models work, it quickly falls off in effectiveness against anything with notable size or armor. The AP-HEBC has incredible penetration and filler for a 203mm AP shell, however their low accuracy makes it difficult to hit specific sections or components of enemy ships. It's an immensely strong shell that's worth using against any cruiser, even posing a major threat to ships in a full up tier and being able to detonate ammo racks if you can manage to hit them. Statistically, it's the best 203mm armor-piercing shell in the game, having the best filler to penetration mix by a significant margin. However, the accuracy of Trento's cannons keeps it from performing where it might from that alone. Last is the HETF ammo, which pairs surprisingly well with Trento's poor accuracy, creating an unpredictable flat cloud with every salvo. However, it's not particularly strong against aircraft due to Trento's poor fire rate and turret traverse, so it's only really useful against torpedo bombers who come in at a very predictable angle. Normally, it'll be your secondary cannons dealing with aircraft: 12 100mm dual-purpose cannons and 6 dual turrets, 8 37mm autocannons split into 4 dual mounts, and 8 13.2mm Beretta machine guns split into 4 dual mounts. The 100mm cannon is impressively powerful due to a high fire rate of roughly 19 shells per minute per gun, along with having relatively average accuracy and good shells. They're much more consistent in damage output than the main guns, and against smaller targets where fire rate matters more than per shell damage, they're a better choice for dealing with them. At close range, I would recommend swapping to the 100mm cannons using Alt and 2, or whatever you have the select secondary weapon key bound to, using the higher fire rate to bully torpedo boats or destroyers. It has HE, AP, and HETF. The HE is best against soft targets like destroyers, the AP is best against American destroyers and lightly armored cruisers, and the HETF is best against aircraft. I would recommend bringing a mix of all 3 shell types, swapping to the secondary cannons, and using the appropriate shell type in situations where fire rate and accuracy are more important than per shell damage. Under AI control, they can use HETF to effectively swat aircraft out of the sky. The 37mm cannons are pretty standard, with all 4 mounts being clustered around the rear funnel and providing an adequate air defense against anything other than a head-on attack. The 13.2mm machine guns are placed in pairs at the masts, providing a mild air defense from all directions. Don't expect them to deter an attack, but they might damage or kill an aircraft that gets too close. Last for Trento's weaponry comes 16 SI-270 torpedoes. They're placed in static hull launchers with 4 on each side, and each launcher having a single reload. The SI-270 torpedo is pretty strong, having a long range and good speed. These are great against cruisers at close range, though they can be detonated by enemy fire while carried, so really it's down to the player's personal taste as to whether or not these should be brought. Next for Trento's stats is survivability, where it has 987 crew and a pretty extensive armor scheme for a ship of its battle rating. Destroyers and cruisers are also modeled differently at the base level, so that confers a lot of extra survivability compared to the ships it faces. Lots of destroyers aren't able to adequately damage Trento as it's simply too large and well armored for their guns to deal with, making it the most survivable battle rating 4.7 ship by a wide margin. Most cruisers and up tiers can generally penetrate Trento's armor, but angling against their guns can increase survivability. The large size of the ship also makes it soak up a lot of damage before going down, so it fares better than most ships in an up tier. Last for Trento's stats is mobility, which is average. It has a top speed of 65 km per hour, which is pretty normal for a cruiser. One important note about its mobility is that it actually lists a lot when turning, meaning it's hard to keep the cannons on a target since they'll be put at odd angles or even elevate high enough to lose the ability to fire. It's something to consider when in combat, since Trento can't maneuver as much as other ships without temporarily sacrificing most of its firepower. For Trento's playstyle, it should be pretty obvious by now. It's a brawler, needing to get up close for its guns to be most effective and having the armor to get there. It excels at close range, getting its maximum damage output by minimizing the effects of instant accuracy. It also works moderately well at medium to long range, as the armor is more effective there, making it impervious to the destroyers it commonly faces. The inaccuracy of the cannons can also work to its advantage at longer ranges, hitting a wide area due to the lack of precision, making it easier to score at least a few hits even with a poor shot. Trento also gets down-tiered very often, and even the up-tiers it does get tend to be pretty small, facing 5.0s and 5.3s where its armor and weaponry is still relevant. This means that Trento is generally facing destroyers, where it's highly resistant to most gunfire and can kill them in 1 or 2 salvos, easily giving it the advantage in most situations. In full down tiers, head directly into the enemy team, trying to avoid routes where your enemies have cover to get close or to evade your fire. In full down tiers, head directly into the enemy team, trying to avoid routes where your enemies have cover to evade your fire. You have the biggest guns and the most armor, so keeping yourself and your enemies out in the open works to your strengths. The largest threats to Trento are torpedoes and other cruisers. Occasionally change headings to avoid torpedoes. It can be a bit annoying since it's likely to knock your guns off of a target, but destroyers tend to target the largest ships in a match with their torpedoes, so heading in a straight line for any extended period of time is very dangerous. Against cruisers, Trento is still likely to have the strongest AP shells in a matchup, even in a full up tier. Go for enemy ammunition racks. It's difficult with the terrible accuracy of the cannons, however a single good hit should be enough to cripple or kill a target. Using cover against cruisers is also important. Getting in close generally gives an advantage to Trento when it's facing cruisers, so avoiding the enemy where they have an accuracy advantage can even the odds against a superior ship. So, is Trento worth unlocking? At the moment, absolutely. It's a massive seal clubber that just barely avoids the top black hole battle rating, making it one of the most powerful and easy to use ships in War Thunder for its battle rating and matchmaking. It's also the only tier 4 ship in the entire game that can grind tier 5 ships without a research penalty without having to face 6.0 vessels, which is a massive upside. It also has an incredibly good lineup with the 2 remaining 4.7 Italian cruisers, all of which I plan to cover soon. The Italian tree is also very small at the moment, only having 6 tech tree ships before Trento. It shouldn't be too hard to grind up to it. However, it's not all upsides. Trento has 2 big red flags, one that's current and one that's more speculative. For the current one, Italy has no battleship. The highest ship Trento can grind to is Zara, which for its battle rating is significantly weaker than Trento. In the future, when Italy gets a battleship, it will likely be placed in tier 5, meaning it might still be able to grind it. However, there comes the second possible issue. Trento may be moved back up from 4.7 to 5.0 as it's overperforming at the moment. If it ever got a fix to its cannon accuracy, it could probably even go up to 5.3 due to its incredible armor-piercing ammo and alpha strike potential. So unlocking Trento may not be a safe bet for a future lineup, since it's very likely to get a higher battle rating. Overall, I would recommend it at the moment, just keep in mind that it may not be relevant in the same way it currently is forever. For modifications, I would recommend this order. Toolset, Fire Protection System, 203mm AP-HEBC Perforante, Rudder Replacement, 100mm HETF Contro Area, Shrapnel Protection, Ventilation, Ammo Wetting, and Engine Maintenance. For crew skills, go for Leadership, Main Caliber Reload Speed, Crew Interchangeability, Fire Prevention, Ship Control, and Time Fuse Set Accuracy. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more naval content.